This is Cruise Control.
Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
And that is correct. You are listening to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We are the controllers, I guess we would call ourselves that. I'm Les. That's Fred over there at the other microphone. And as usual, even though it's the holidays, don't think that the industry is taking any time off, because they're not.
No, that's right, Les. There's a lot going on, and we're here to tell you about it. And we've got a great show for you, Les, because first we're starting off with Volkswagen making a big announcement. I think it's a great announcement. You and I have been talking about this. They're saying 400 miles of range will be what all their electric vehicles will give you, and you'll be able to recharge them a lot faster. I think that's going to make a lot of people less anxious.
That is correct. I'll be talking about that fast charge a little later in the show. Carvana brought online vehicle purchases and door-to-door delivery of used vehicles to the market, but maybe that's coming to an end. Things aren't exactly working out as planned.
I think it's that vending machine. I don't see why they needed to have that vending machine. That
the vending machine is a big, expensive so what?
Yeah. Exactly. It's a big, expensive so what. Yeah, that's true. They provide a great service, but who knows who will take that over. There's Vroom and probably some other ones, but we'll find out about that. And it has to do a lot with people not getting their titles and their paperwork. They subbed that out. It created a lot of problems for people.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll talk about that. And is Ford planning a coupe model of the Mach E Mustang? And this is unique because there's not a lot of two doors around, and some people are saying they will.
Well, I think Mustang people want a coupe.
Yeah,
so
it will still be a high roof
I say
coupe.
Yes. Yeah.
It will still be a high roof,
well, true,
crossover-y type thing. But the only, I think doesn't the Land Rover have an Evoque that has a two-door model?
The Evoque is very much like that, and it sells well.
Yeah, and of course, it's a bit different, but the Defender from Range Rover is a two-door. I remember reviewing that over the summer and thinking, when is the last time I've been in a two-door SUV?
Oh boy, that's a long time.
Long time. Blazer fans, K5 Blazer fans. Yeah, I love that. I wanted to get one of those.
Exactly, and you probably are going to tell us what brand is the safest.
Yeah, it might be a bit of a surprise. You think it might start with a V, but it might not start with a V. We'll tell you about that.
That's right.
And you have an at-the-wheel review, don't you?
I do. That beast, the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I'm going to give an at-the-wheel review. It's a very, very interesting vehicle for sure.
Yeah, it looks like a concept car, really. And the first time I saw it, I thought, wow, that's...
5 people. Every time I park it this week, somebody walks up saying, what the heck is that thing?
Do they say it that way, or do they say it like, wow, that looks really good?
They're saying it in a nice way.
Yeah. Still say Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, could be the leader in electric cars. I really do. I think because they can build an inexpensive car, as they have done with the internal combustion ones, that, has everything in it and is not a fortune.
With massive warranties.
With massive warranties, you still get the big warranty. Yeah. I'm going to ask you, what warranty do they give on the battery? Do you have that info?
10 years. Yes, I will go through that.
Wow. So same as a gas-powered car.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool stuff. All right. Well, That's all coming up and more on Cruise Control. And we might as well just keep going and start our first story, Les, and that is about Volkswagen. Of course, they're doing well too. Now they want to be the leader in electric cars, and they're selling a lot of them. Of course, they got the ID4, they've got the ID3, which is sort of the electric Golf in Europe and around the world. We don't get it here in the U.S., but the ID Buzz will be coming here. That is the van. And they're all built on the modular electric drive system platform, basically the roller skate, right? Remember when they used to call them roller skates, the platforms?
Exactly, yeah.
So
I think everybody's kind of doing that with one model or another.
Yeah, so that's what Volkswagen's talking about here, and they're saying since they're building it on the same platform, they want to see that go to 400 miles of range, which would be pretty cool, don't you think?
Well, for sure, and I think within 2 or 3 years we're going to see 500 miles pretty commonly.
Okay. And they also say they're going to be able to charge things a lot faster. Now, of course, that depends on the charger, and
right.
You know, I think they should have these. They should have these at dealers or dealer charger farms for cars, because they always want to get people back to the dealer. That's a good way to do it with some free, low-cost charging.
It would be. I wonder if dealers would accept that, if they would just consider it an irritation.
I know dealers near me, there's 4 dealers, and anyone can charge their electric car there. Same with Nissan. But it's like 1 or 2 chargers. I'm talking about in the parking lot where the used cars used to be, you have a bunch of chargers.
I charge my cars, other than just a quick charge,
at home,
light charge at the house, at the local Target. It has a big parking lot, and it's got 6 chargers.
Wow. Do you find that they're in use or when you get there? Or
usually 2 or 3 are in use, and they have 2 of the big 350 kilowatt chargers, which I'll talk about later.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. I've only encountered the 220s, in different places.
Yeah, these are 800 volts.
That will fry your eggs, huh?
That definitely will get your attention if you touch it the wrong way.
Yeah, I guess. Well, they're calling this the MEB Plus platform. And the good thing is, by the way, also, they're looking to have an entry-level priced electric vehicle at $26,000. So,
wow.
They're hinting this will be a European model. I just hope manufacturers don't get out of that market. I'm going to have next week, I'm going to have the Volt, the little EUV version of this. I haven't seen one of these, but it's sort of like a little bit of an extension in the back. To make it sort of like a SUV or electric SUV. So I'll be checking that out. And that is probably the least expensive electric car right now, I would imagine, right?
I would think.
Yeah. So big news, though, if you're I would want to wait for that extra range. I know it's going to be more money, but the range right now on the ID4 is what? Do you remember? I had one.
I think it's 230.
Yeah. So this would be a big jump for that vehicle, and really would make it much more usable. 430 miles. I think the only vehicle, there was one hybrid vehicle that I had recently, and I filled up the tank. I know what it was. Yeah, the one I had recently was the Pacifica Hybrid, and I don't know whether this was something weird on the way it read the range or whatever, but I filled up the tank brimming, and I had the electric battery charged, which the battery gives you 32 miles. It said total range 510 miles.
Wow.
So,
well, that's your house in New York to Norfolk.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, but still, to see a 400-mile range, people are going to do, if they're taking a road trip, they're going to do selective charging. Take, half hour and charge it at a higher voltage, and that's how they'll do it, right?
Well, also a 400-mile range. If you're on a trip, any kind of a sizable trip, once you've gone 400 miles, you're about ready to take an hour or so for dinner,
And most truck drivers
know.
only drive about 500 miles a day, if they're
That's
long
right.
hauling, which is a lot, really.
Well, it is a lot.
Yeah. So 400 miles of range should do it. So I think that's a big deal for Volkswagen, and I don't know if we have any details on when this is coming out or when they'll see this MEV Plus platform, but to me it can't come soon enough. I think you would agree with that, right?
Absolutely. Things are, things are moving along very, very well.
Yeah. Yeah, we're even going
The
to
electric world.
talk about Honda is looking at building fuel cell vehicles in the U.S. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on Cruise Control. So it's all developing, and still there will be internal combustion engine vehicles available as well. So you're going to need to keep listening to Cruise Control because there's a lot going on.
Well, that's right. Remember, we're testing these things,
Yep.
and we're happy to talk about them.
Yep, exactly. We are testing these things and happy to talk about them for sure. Hey, you are listening to Cruise Control. We're going to take a little bit of a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Carvana. This was one of the darlings of the industry, used car industry, for quite some time. Obviously, they deliver your car on a flatbed. They also had these vending machines, but they're struggling with some things going on. So we're going to tell you a little bit about what's going on with them. But stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control. You're listening to us, Les and Fred. And if you're in a city area and you've seen one of the big Carvana vending machines, they always put them very close to exits on major roads so you can see this glass tower sticking up with a bunch of cars in it. You're probably impressed with it, and certainly you should be because it's different, it's cool. You see their ads, and you can go to the vending machine and buy your car. Bear in mind, you're not likely to do that because that machine only holds about a dozen cars, and otherwise they've got a lot with cars, and they deliver them to you if you want, right, Fred?
Yeah, I mean, I never understood the vending thing. That was sort of like something I had, like it looked like a Matchbox case,
Yep.
And you had to buy your car ahead of time, and they loaded it onto the vending machine. It's like,
Well,
why not just put it on a flatbed and send it to
yeah.
me?
When they first started the company and they did their press tour around the country, they set up one of these over in Rockville, Maryland, and invited us and the press to it. And they did a big splash with speeches. They had somebody who actually bought a car,
Uh-huh.
and they gave the lady the token. It's a coin, but it's a big, you know, coin, and she puts it in a slot, and the machine, the elevators in the machine, of course, make a lot of noise
Right.
and take a long time to bring the car down. But they brought it down, and it was cute. But if you think about it, it's just a pure gimmick. It's not it's not really accomplishing anything other than a show.
The only thing I think that would be good for would be parking in New York City to automate it.
Right,
And
right.
or imagine having one of those garages inside a building. That would be kind of cool for yourself if you had a
It
huge
would,
car
but
collection.
it's taking up a lot of space.
Yeah. But the whole idea I liked was you could look online, you could compare these things. You had
Right.
7 days to bring it back. I remember reading a story of a guy that bought a Mustang GT. He said it was really everything he liked. The only thing he didn't like is it had two different brand tires on the back from the ones on the front, and he kind of negotiated with them, and they said, "Well, we don't consider that a negative,
Right.
And he said, "Okay," and he decided to go with it, and he bought matched tires for it eventually. But a lot of people had great experiences, but then what happened is they sort of outsourced their paperwork department, and people were having trouble getting titles and other paperwork. And it became a big problem for them. People had to get temporary registrations, and they had to keep extending them, and it became a big problem for them. And now they're having problems with solvency because of the cost of used cars, and they just can't make their bills, right?
Well, and some of the municipalities where they're selling the cars, the machines and the car lots, because they haven't been able to keep up with the registration, they are losing their licenses.
Wow.
Well, or they're suspending their licenses and they can't do business. So it's a mess, and obviously their stock prices dropped
Dropping.
97%.
Wow. Wow.
So that's, I wouldn't you say that's kind of the kiss of doom?
Well, they also slashed 1,500 jobs, 8% of their workforce. They're in a cash burn mode. It's unfortunate. I mean, there's another company, Vroom. You don't hear much about them anymore. They used to advertise all the time. I don't know what their current state is. I think this idea is great. The ability to buy a car online and just have it flatbedded to you. I think that's a good
Right.
idea. But who will take it over? Now, you said during the break, what about Amazon
Or Walmart?
or Walmart?
They have the internal logistics. I don't know if they want to bother with the business, but
What about
they-
GM and Ford? But
well, see, one of the problems is that I don't think it's Vroom. It's one of the other ones that I've looked at recently, and I'll Car Gurus, I think. And when you look at a car, it actually just ties you with a dealership where it's at,
right.
and then you're going through the system, but you're effectively buying from the dealer, and I'm not sure that's the way to go.
Yeah, all Car Gurus is sort of like an aggregator, and
Like a broker.
it's like multiple listing service for cars.
Yeah.
So you're seeing all the cars in a certain area, like sort of like using Zillow and say, hey, I want to live in this county. What houses are there? And you see houses sold by a variety of, or listed by a variety of real estate agents, right?
Well, that's right. Plus, when I was just searching for a particular model just for the heck of it and going through it, this was a few weeks ago, I noticed that some of the dealers are in the D.C. Baltimore area are in fact these gypsy dealers that have constant lawsuits against them.
Oh, wow.
And
They're
I thought,
masking
oh
themselves.
man, this is kind of smarmy.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think? I think someone should buy this, but, get rid of the machines,
Yeah.
handle your paperwork, say, hey, we will have your paperwork by, 2 weeks or whatever, there's no reason they can't handle that. You can do it all online.
Well, that's true, but you need a staff to do it, which is, I guess, one justification for using dealers,
Mm-hmm.
because they have that infrastructure, pretty well nailed down.
If they could have a company that really gets the inside track on it in getting titles faster
Yep.
or whatever. Although I used one of these places where you don't have to go to Department of Motor Vehicles, and it was great. Actually, it was great. It was like $100, but you walk in, the guy had the plates, the guy had everything. Boom, boom, boom. He knows everything you have to do. He looks at the form. Yep, you need this form. Blah blah blah. And it was worth the $100 not to go to Department of
Wow.
Motor Vehicles. It really was. It was efficient. The guy just knew everything. It's like, oh, here's what you need. Hold on a second. Sign this. Stamp that. Boom, boom. And I was out of there in 15 minutes. So I would recommend those places.
That's pretty good.
It was worth $100. I was like, you know what? That was worth $100. It really made a difference. Because you can't go to Department of Motor Vehicles anymore just straight up. You have to make an appointment.
You got to make an appointment. You're still going to sit for a while. The last time we did, it wasn't too long. It was 15 or 20 minutes waiting. But it's still, you got to drive there. It's crowded.
You are always worried that you don't have the right form, and they're like standing in that
You're
other line.
constantly-
I remember that when I first started driving and
Yeah.
got my first car. It's like, standing in line. Oh, nope, you have to go to line 3. Okay, well,
Yeah.
how would I know that? Don't ask me. I'm just the
That's
grumpy
right.
person behind the counter.
The name of your model is misspelled. You'll have to get a new title.
Yep, that's it. So I liked it. I thought that was great. It was no muss, no fuss. I mean, it cost $100, but it was worth $100. Ever used one of
Yeah.
those?
I've never been to one. I'm not sure they have them in Virginia.
They
but
may
I'm gonna
not. It may
check.
be a state thing. In New York, they
We-
have
we-
them, and
Yeah.
and the problem with those companies is the guy told me they think they're part of the Department of Motor Vehicles, and they're like, why are you charging me this service fee, right?
Right.
And I said, they don't realize you're a private company.
Huh.
And he said, right. And I said, okay, well, they just don't understand. But I said, it's a service, and that a service costs money. So, but will Carvana survive? What do you give it?
No, I don't see it surviving. I don't know. It'll sell off its assets, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there's room for a well-designed company to take it over and become huge.
Yeah. I could also see some car manufacturer taking it over too. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, actually, CarMax.
Yeah, although they have physical stores. They have actual stores that you go
Yeah,
to.
that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll keep you up to date on cruise control. Let's talk about the idea of a coupe, a Mach E coupe. Of course, the Mach E Mustang is a 4-door kind of, I guess they would call that a low roof CUV. That's the term I'm seeing now. Low roof CUV.
A chopped CUV.
Yeah. And according to a report from the Mach E Club forum, and a report published by Global Auto Forecasts, They kind of list the upcoming inventory of a number of brands, and it says the second generation Mustang Mach-E will come both in the traditional body style like the current car and a coupe. Now, we've seen coupes in our lifetime. They used to be the cool cars, and that used to be, oh, you want to get the coupe. That's cool because the four-door, that wasn't cool anymore.
That's right.
But that has all changed, and four doors became the norm. And very few coupes. I would have to say, I know Lexus has a few coupes in their lineup. Of course, the current actual Mustang, the Camaro, the Challenger, the current Challenger. But a lot of those cars are long in the tooth, aren't they?
Well, they are. And there are very, very few, other than convertibles, there are very, very few B-pillarless coupes.
Yeah, hard
around.
tops, as they used to call them.
Hard top, yes.
Yeah.
Which always looked better than anything.
They did. They certainly did, and you put the windows down, it was a cool look.
But the problem with those is you get wind noise. It's almost impossible to seal between the two windows.
Right. So, well, this probably would have a B pillar, I would imagine, but
Sure.
you just don't see them. And I think they started to go away in the smaller cars because there were always coupe versions of those.
Yep.
And then they just disappeared completely. So interesting that they would bring them back. You and I have talked about this on Cruise Control. Some of the manufacturers would, they just say it's a coupe, even though it has four doors. Mercedes did that. I don't quite understand that. But that's what they would do. It was bizarre. It was bizarre that they did. I just didn't get it.
That's right. This is our coupiness version.
I think it meant if the rear glass was sort of a fastback design.
Yeah.
There's a term you don't hear much anymore. Fastback.
That's right. It's all styling. But the problem with a coupe, when you have just two doors, is getting into that back seat.
Oh, yeah.
This was no problem when everybody had two-door cars back when we were young, and your young friends jumped into the back. But try it if you're middle-aged.
Yeah.
It is not pleasant, and especially to load all kinds of junk back there.
Oh, yeah. I guess people have more junk. But, I remember I had a Nova. The front seat barely tilted forward, and I very rarely used the rear seat.
Yep.
And, like Camaros were notorious. They had about 3 inches of leg room in the back.
Yeah.
and two little butt pockets for your seats.
Everything I owned until I was, way up in my 30s or maybe even 40, was either a convertible or a two-door coupe.
Yeah. So strange.
Yeah.
So strange that they would bring that back. But, hey, I mean, who knows? We'll see. Mustang is a two-door car, and maybe they think there's a market for it.
Well, the Mustang has almost zero legroom in the back, and they've been that way for almost 60 years.
I call it a vestigial back seat. It once was functional, but no, it's been sacrificed. It's nice for a hat or a small dog. It'd be a comfortable spot for a small dog, actually.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. Hey, you're listening to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We're going to take a little bit of a break, so stay tuned. We will be right back.
Cruise control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson take you on a ride around the automotive industry. It's a lot going on, and one of the things we wanted to talk about, if I asked you, Les, what brand leads in safety, and I said, give me the name of a brand, what would you say?
Well,
Off the top of your head.
I would say Audi.
Oh, well, you looked at the notes, that's why.
No, I did. No,
Wouldn't
I
you
did
say
not.
Volvo?
The reason, well, Volvo has, of course, that historic reputation, but I know Audi, a number of years ago, started building a lot of aluminum cars, and that's much, much safer in a crash.
Okay, well, you're right. It's Audi.
There you go. And again, I did not look at any notes.
No, it is Audi. And they have 15 models that have earned the 2022 Top Safety Pick Plus. And, of course, they're tested not too far from where you're sitting. But the list of models is huge, starting with the Q4 e-tron, the Q4 Sportback, the e-tron Sportback, the Q8, the A3, the A4, the A4 All-Road, the A5 Coupe, actual Coupe, hi, and A5 Sportback, A6, A6 All-Road, and A7. And so that is the most vehicles of any lineup that have received that Safety Pick Plus award.
Now, do you think that this number of them got to be that large number because they conform to the headlight?
Oh, I think that's part of it. I also think they share the same platform,
which uses a lot of aluminum in the frames, and aluminum exhibits much less yield rate sensitivity than steel.
So it doesn't move as much when it's crashed.
Yeah, it collapses at a controlled rate.
Okay.
And absorbs a whole lot more crash shock.
Interesting stuff.
But you can't fix it.
You can't. You fix it by buying another vehicle.
Exactly.
Yeah. So did the aluminum body panels make the F-150 safer when they went to aluminum?
I mean, it seems to me the F-150 is pretty safe no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's bound to be larger than anything it hits.
Yeah, and taller.
Taller.
Yeah. So, interesting. Okay. Well, there you have it. If you're looking for a safe vehicle, check out this latest study and this latest awards from the Institute for Highway Safety. They do a lot of great stuff, and it's one of my ideas in life. Make something you want to do, make money for companies, and they will do it. So they use it now like, hey, well, is this car safe? Yes, it got the Safety Pick Plus, which is the best rating you can get.
Notice how many models Audi makes.
Oh, tons of them. Tons of them.
It used to be maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, not anymore. They have a lot. They have a lot. Certainly beautiful electric vehicles, too. Their e-tron line. So.
Oh, that e-tron is lovely.
I was thinking about this the other week when I had a press car that came with the buttons for heated seats, but they were not active. Same with heated steering wheel. The button was there, but it was not active. You could push it all day. I had another vehicle where they gave you $35 off because the electric folding mirrors, the motors were not there for it, or the chips to control.
$35?
30, yeah, a whole 30. That's not per mirror. That's total.
Is that to suggest that if you wanted to get some electric folding mirrors, they would only cost you $35?
They probably cost you 1,000 each.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, so some of these Monronis, these window stickers on these press cars say to be added later, temporary credit, you know. And it was an interesting article this week. I thought I'd bring it out and use it to talk about this point. The Maverick is getting back its keyless fob. Of course, the Maverick is the small pickup from Ford, and they had done away with their keyless fob to save on chips. According to CarBuzz, they are getting it back for 2023, and they were saying the key was depopulated when it was I know that drives you crazy. Any word with D, like deplane. But the depopulated key is not available anymore. It is now the keyless fob with the buttons on it. They're saying that the chip shortage is we're finally getting through this, and we're starting to see things that involve chips like heated seats and key fobs, which is sad that you would have to do with a regular key on your new vehicle. But these things, they're coming back in, and we're going to see a return to fully equipped vehicles. So that begs the question from getting these press vehicles and reading this article. Have you seen anywhere or heard anything about how they're going to pull these vehicles in that were built without the heated seats or mirrors or whatever, seat adjusters, power seat adjusters, or no lumbar? I'm assuming that the seats, in the case of like a lumbar setup, have the motor in it, have the air bladder in it, but there's some kind of control board with chips on it that was not put in, right? That's what I'm assuming.
Well, I have not, and I have an opinion on what's going on. It's just an opinion.
Okay.
And that is that they haven't really thought about it. And it's, the engineers always have a huge whiteboard in their conference rooms with programmed evaluation and goals and what you want to accomplish by so-and-so. And I think retrofitting these chipless vehicles is way, way over on the far end of the board for somebody to check into when you got some free time.
Right.
And I honestly think that's about as much as they've thought about it.
Yeah. And remember where these chips go. Even Jim Farley, the Ford CEO, said, in the future we should maybe look at designing these vehicles where there's a bus. They're all bused to one area, and if you
like
don't have
a fuse panel,
yeah. But right now, I'll give you, for instance, I have a vehicle where the little flapper door gear that controls the blend door is broken. You literally have to take the whole dash apart to get to that, or you have to use like all the sockets and extensions and joints and everything in your box to get the screws in. This is the problem they have. So you might say, well, I want my heated seats back. Well, great, but I have 8 hours of labor because I have to take the whole interior out of your car to get to the multi-pin connector to put that in, which that part takes me like 5 minutes to put that on, but then I have to put your car back together. But
what if all of those systems are built into the display panel?
Right.
Then you've got a very expensive display panel with its software and chips to replace. I just have a feeling
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. It certainly would cost a lot of money. The only thing I could see that would happen is they'll say trade the vehicle in and we'll give you an extra $500.
Oh, wonderful!
That's what
extra $500.
That's what I think will happen. I think they'll say trade it in. we'll give you a deal, and then there'll be like an incentive to sell this off. But then once again, you and I said this on the used car market, down the line, someone's going to read on Edmunds
Yep.
or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, they all came standard with heated seats and steering wheel, and they'll get one, and the buttons will be there, and it won't work.
Something you want to check, and it could be a great bargaining point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this came without it, so I want $1,000 off the price of this car.
Right. It will always be kind of the one that, it's sort of like having a salvage title. It might have been repaired completely
Right.
well, but
Right.
it's not worth as much. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they will ever put this stuff on unless it's real simple,
Yeah.
unless there's the firewall and there's like a little plastic box and you can snap that open and put the chip in. I think they should build vehicles like that in the future. I really do.
Yeah, because if you knew this was going to happen, you would have built modules
Right.
behind the dash and in the engine
Yeah,
compartment,
under the
the
glove
seats.
box. Take the glove
Yeah,
box out.
for replacement. But
Yeah.
they didn't see this happening, so you've got empty circuit boards
Right.
that aren't plug-in. They're just circuit boards that were built by a machine.
And someone's going to buy a car with heated seats, hit the button because the buttons are there, but they don't light
Yep.
up, and they'll take it back to the dealer and say the seats are broken, and some dealer will just keep chasing it around. It's like, well, here's why, because there's just a bridging connector where the board would be, and the board is not there.
But the dealer isn't going to tell you that those aren't hooked up when you
Right.
buy it.
Right. So test everything out is our
Everything.
yeah. I thought the mirrors, you maybe like on this one vehicle I had the mirrors, maybe you could retrofit that. You could take the doors apart, but even that,
Yep.
think about that work of doing that, taking it apart. Dealer doesn't want to do
Well,
that.
having taken many doors apart,
Same here.
I'll
I have
do
the
it,
scars
but,
to prove it.
but I want the price of what I'm of that vehicle to account for me having to do it.
Right. There should be a law where they should say this vehicle is a side sticker, was built during the chip shortage, therefore it doesn't have these features, even though it may have the switches for that. They should. It should be a disclosure. I think it's a bigger problem than I think they just don't want to deal with it.
It's a big problem. It's going to turn up in a year or two, and it's going to be a big scandal.
Yeah. And some people may not care, if you're buying a fleet vehicle, whatever. But, to not have a key fob, a wireless key fob, it's like dumb at this point,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when's the last vehicle you've tested with a key?
Long time ago. Oh, wow. Long time ago.
Yeah, it's long time.
I know. Didn't one of our fellow automotive journalists get crank windows and was confused by them?
I think there are probably some that have never even seen one with a crank window.
All right. Well, hey, I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We're going to take a little bit of a break, but when we come back, Les is going to have an at the wheel review. He's going to review the Ioniq 5, which is a pretty cool vehicle. So, all electric vehicle. Les, you were pretty impressed with it, but we're going to kind of talk about it when we come back. And, I think it'll be pretty interesting to hear what Les thinks of this. So
It's quite a vehicle.
all right. Stay tuned to Cruise Control. Coming up at the Wheel Review.
Back to cruise control. We are rolling down the road. I'm going to review this at the wheel segment, the Hyundai Ioniq, or Ioniq, for those of you that want to pronounce it that way, 5 Limited, all-wheel drive. It's all electric. And first, if you're watching the video portions here, you'll see it's different looking.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a prototype.
Yes, it does.
Because honestly, all week, every time I park it, somebody walks up saying, "What is that?
Did you build that yourself?" Which would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, and outside it looks like that. Inside it is. I'll talk about that in a moment. But outside, the interesting thing about it is when you get within 3 feet of it, the fob's in your pocket, the flush door handles all open up and swing out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which is kind of cool looking.
I hear in the future you're going to be able to open it with a gesture, some kind of sweeping of your hand.
That's probably true. So, it's just the whole machine just seems to think for you.
Okay.
And it's very easy to get into, very comfortable to sit down. Inside, it feels much and looks much, much bigger than it is.
Okay.
It's wide open inside, mainly because it has this huge panoramic roof, which is, I'm talking big. It's the entire length of the roof, front to back. By the way, the color of mine is kind of a medium dark gray. It's called Shooting Star.
Okay.
And it's a satin finish.
So a matte finish?
A matte finish. I don't care for those myself, but I understand.
You have to actually use a special cloth for cleaning that.
That's right. And by the way, that finish is $1,000 extra.
I'd get the regular paint, I think.
Yeah, I'd get a can of Krylon and just. But anyway, so once you get inside and you're comfortable, again, the seats, the leg room, it's great. Everybody that's been in it has said, "Man, this thing is really nice to ride in." But you're looking at this dash, which, and I'm not being sarcastic or judgmental, but it looks to me like sort of a modern version of a 70s era stereo receiver.
Lots of knobs and buttons.
Lots of gadgets and gewgaws, but it's not particularly attractive.
Huh.
It's just this panel. One person got in, one of my neighbors, and said, "I feel like I'm in a taxi cab," which kind of I could almost see that.
Wow.
Anyway, between the seats, there's a great storage space. By the way, the console slides back and forth. Mm-hmm. How many times have you wanted something to store some whatever
chips,
small bag of
chips.
groceries behind the cup holders?
Mm-hmm.
So they have that. It's well thought out for practical purposes.
Okay.
So to drive it, oh man, this is fun to drive. Electric steering, of course. Mine has the optional 74 kilowatt front motor and 165 kilowatt rear motor. Mm-hmm. It's all-wheel drive. 446 pound-feet of torque.
Wow. And a little car like that.
And it's 320 horsepower, and of course it's fun to impress all your friends with scaring them when you stand on the accelerator.
Oh yeah.
Also, this and I can't praise Hyundai enough for this. This has the 800-volt ultra fast charging. I'm going to test it tomorrow when I make sure that I go to the big high speed charger when most people aren't there. So it'll be tomorrow morning on a Sunday. 10% charge to 80% charge, 18 minutes.
Wow. So 80% would give you how much range?
Well, the entire system is 200. The battery is holding 77.4 kilowatts of electric energy.
Okay.
And that's a 300-mile range.
Okay. All right. So 80%.
Depending on temperature. If it's cold, it's going to be a little less. If it's warm, a little more.
80% would be somewhere around 200 and change.
80%, right. About 260,
Okay.
250.
That's great.
I'm currently at 65%, but the car goes back on Tuesday, and I always like to, have plenty of miles on it
Right.
available for the people
Me
picking
too.
it up.
Me too.
Okay, what else has it got? And how many years have I been saying this, Fred? That battery-powered vehicles and hybrids should be built with a dual electric system, so that it will charge your house
Mm-hmm. Sure.
in the event of a power failure. Well, this has it. It is called, vehicle to load
Okay.
electric. That is to say, you can either plug 110 volt something in it. A lot of vehicles do that, or you can plug in your entire house.
So,
And if you've as a standby generator, and 77.4 kilowatts is almost 4 days of full electric usage in your house.
of course, you have to watch that, because if you're out for that long of power, now you won't have a car even.
Well, that's right. You have to make sure that you're out of power because trees knocked out your neighborhood, not because the entire East Coast power grid's down. But I think that's terrific.
Yeah.
You don't need a standby generator.
Would you still have to? You would have to have a transfer switch. You have to have safety. You can't be powering your house and then the power comes back on, or someone goes on the pole.
Actually, you could. All you would do is turn off your main breaker and connect to the panels directly. Transfer switch would make an awful lot of sense.
Yeah. Sort of like if you
otherwise-
had a portable generator, a roll-around generator, you would
Right.
have that where people roll them outside and they have basically
Exactly.
the cord that goes out there that would supply the house and goes.
Yeah, and I have one, and you just simply shut off the main breaker, so all you're powering is the house.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so it's got a nav system that's very easy to use. Talk to it, which I love. It's got a heads-up display, which I'm big fan of. You know that.
Yep.
There are just so many features in this that it's worth testing one, even if you're not interested in buying one.
Okay.
But because it's the dash for me is something I know I would just hate looking at over
Interesting.
time. It would almost keep me from buying one, but it's got so many other features that I really like it. Comfortable everywhere, very quiet inside, a little on the pricey side.
Okay, that has been the problem with some of its similar vehicles like the EV6 and others from Kia.
Yeah.
Nice vehicle, but a little bit of a shock. So what's the number? Hit me with the number.
56,920, including $1,225 delivery. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. You're into the luxury CUV world.
You are, and it's not a luxury vehicle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nothing wrong with it, but it's not a super plush luxury vehicle.
What would you
I
pay
don't
for
know
it?
what the price of
40?
the lower. What's that?
What would you pay? What do you think should be the price? Like if you were, I always play this game before I look at the Monroney. I say,
I always guess.
what will I think this costs?
I was figuring maybe 42.
Okay, that's what I would say, somewhere in the 40s.
Yeah,
low 40s.
I was shocked, as we frequently are.
It's shocked electric car.
Yeah.
I got.
By the way, equivalent 98 miles per gallon. $650 a year in electricity costs.
Electricity costs, which is not bad at all. But
Great vehicle.
But that's a huge number, Les.
Well, yeah.
Is it
No
safety
way around
rated
that.
yet?
What's that?
Is it safety rated yet? Are there any?
It is not
crash data?
safety rated yet. I'm sure it's going to be high there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's really, if you're looking for an electric vehicle, don't not look at it because it's there and it's warranted for a long time.
Yeah, cool looking vehicle. I agree with you. The interior looks a little bit of like a service car. I don't know why they did that. Because typically, I find. And this is not a bad thing. It's just a differentiator. I kind of like Kia's interiors better than Hyundai's. Hyundai kind of tried to make. I had a Sonata hybrid. It was nice. It was more of an old school look in the interior and more conservative. But this looks very conservative. It looks like a basic, very basic.
Yeah. Again, I think my neighbor's description
As a taxi cab
of the dash, it's that kind of feel.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, Les Jackson at the Wheel Review. I think that's about it for this hour of Cruise Control. Any final words on the Ioniq 5?
By all means, test one.
All right.
If you want an electric vehicle.
Hey, don't forget to check us out on our YouTube page and more, and go over to cruisecontrolradio.com.
Cruise Control Radio is your on-air automotive magazine. Go to www.cruisecontrolradio.com for more information.
Yeah, that place. All right.
That one, right.
We'll be back with the next hour of Cruise Control. Stay tuned.